Quick note before we begin, if you hear any tiny velociraptor sounds, little coos, or unexpected background noises, that's just my newest coworker nearby. We run a very small, very alive production over here, and they like to stay close while I record. Plus, you can also take some of his coos as a confirmation, if you will. Welcome back to The Cards Made Me Do It. This is the Lunar Gates of the Fire Horse year, and it's the card by card walkthrough of the new moons and the full moons. If you joined me for the one I did last year and you were able to go back and, pinpoint some pivotal moments in your life, pivotal moments in the collective or the world, make sure you put that in the comments so we can talk about it. But moving forward, the 2026 Lunar New Year ushers in the Year of the Fire Horse, a cycle known for intensity, independence, and decisive movements. The horse year carries fast, forward driving energy. They push people toward action, freedom, and self determined paths. There's a restless quality to the horse years, a sense that things don't want to stay stagnant for too long. They want motion, they want expression and momentum. And when you add that fire element, that energy becomes even more amplified. So, fire signs in astrological zodiacs, those are your Leos, those are your Sagittariuses, those are your Aries. So, fire brings passion, vitality, visibility, courage, and sometimes confrontation. It burns away what's stagnant, exposes what's hidden, and accelerates whatever it touches. So, the fire horse year tends to feel fast moving, emotionally and spiritually intense, bold, expressive, and sometimes unpredictable. Focused on independence, leadership, and personal authority. So it's really lighting a fire under your ass, ushering you to step up in some type of a way. So it's not typically a quiet or passive year. It's a year that pushes people into motion, sometimes by inspiration, sometimes by pressure. And when you look at the cards that open this Lunar New Year, that theme of power, authority, and material activation shows up immediately. This year isn't just a sequence of lunations. Each new moon and full moon acts like a gate, a place where certain energies open, certain tests appear, and certain rewards come into view. And when I reference the zodiac signs for these moons, I want you to go a step further. If you know your personal chart or your life spread, look at where these cards land for you. Ask yourself, is this one of your personal cards? Does it activate a placement in your spread, whether that be your birth spread or your spread for the year? Does it touch one of your karmic or planetary cards? Because some of these gates will be collective, but others will be deeply personal. So we have a boss opening. The start of the Lunar New Year begins on an Eight of Diamonds day. The Eight of Diamonds is my Jupiter card for life. It's also the card I'm displacing this year. So for me, that's a major activation point, a personal wealth gate, a growth gate, a pay attention kind of energy. And that's the spirit in which this whole year should be approached, not as random events, but as a series of meaningful checkpoints. Starting off our Lunar New Year, we are on February 17th, 2026. It's a new moon in Aquarius. The card of the day is the Eight of Diamonds. So the Fire Horse year begins on the Eight of Diamonds day, and that's significant. The Eight of Diamonds is the boss card. It represents power, money, mastery, and authority, especially in the material world. And this is happening at the pinnacle position of the grand solar spread, the mundane spread, if you will, under a new moon. New moons are naturally times of manifestation, intention setting, and planting seeds. So the year begins with a financial and authority based activation. This is a portal for boss moves, financial intentions, long term material planning, speaking abundance into existence. And later on that evening, Venus will conjunct the North Node. Most people associate Venus with love, but Venus also rules money, value, and resources. And Venus is exalted in Pisces, which adds a big spiritual, expansive, and intuitive quality to this alignment. So this isn't just a love portal, it's a money and a value portal. So my advice, whether you do a ritual or not, this is a day to be very mindful of what you say about your finances, how you speak about your worth, and the intentions you set around money and power. And even love, if you will, but I ain't gonna go there about the Eight of Diamonds not being the most loving card. We'll move forward. On March the 3rd, you have the full moon in Virgo. The card of that day is the Seven of Spades. The time of that one is 6:37 a.m. And so this full moon lands on a Seven of Spades day during a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. The Seven of Spades is a heavy card. It's a test of faith. Sometimes it's called the card of accidents, fires, natural catastrophes, or spiritual trials. But at its core, it's about being pushed into deeper trust. And if I were to compare it to the tarot, I would compare it to the Tower card. So almost like delusional faith, the kind where you have to believe even when there's no proof, even when shit's falling down all around you, even when you are in the eye of the storm. So with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, communication may be foggy, emotions may override logic, and words may carry extra weight. And just a note about the Mercury retrogrades all this year of 2026, all of them are supposed to be in water signs. They are going to be some emotional ass Mercury retrogrades, okay? But back to the point. My advice is that this is a time to be extremely mindful of what you're saying. Your thoughts and speech could act like spells, intentionally or unintentionally, because I don't care what you believe, words are spells. You are constantly speaking either good over yourself or misfortune over yourself. The Seven of Spades shows up again later in the year, so this full moon feels like part one of a larger spiritual test cycle. Next, on March the 18th, we have our new moon in Pisces at 9:23 p.m. And the card of that day is the Five of Diamonds. So the Five of Diamonds is the card of the innovator and the risk taker. It signals a time to embrace change, explore new ideas, and step into opportunities even if they feel uncertain. Because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, we can also look at the Neptune card of the Five of Diamonds spread, which is the Jack of Diamonds. And this card brings in entrepreneurial energy, the ability to identify new ventures, take calculated risks, and act on creative insight. In other words, this new moon gives you both the spark, Five of Diamonds, and the method, Jack of Diamonds, to plan and innovate. Earlier in that day, and sometimes that's why I mention the times so I can tell you what else is going on astrologically. Earlier in that day, Jupiter is going to square Venus and the sun will sextile Neptune. So these aspects layer intuition, spiritual insight, and faith alongside your material planning. Mercury is still retrograde, so this is not the moment to launch projects, but a prime time to review, clarify, and map out your next steps. I always think that any retrograde is a time to review, triple check all of your stuff. My advice, like I said, is to review financial plans or investments, explore new businesses or creative ideas, journal, or visualize your next moves. The Five of Diamonds encourages bold thinking and calculated risks, while the Jack of Diamonds gives you the entrepreneurial insight to channel those ideas effectively. This is a gateway for forward momentum. Plan now, act later and let spirit guide the timing. April 1st, Lord of mercy, we have a full moon in Libra. The card of that day is the Seven of Spades again. Remember what I said about the Tower? That's like my Tower card. That time of that full moon is 10:11 p.m. So that day will be a heavy card of tests, faith, and spiritual trials. Often called the card of accidents or surprises, at its core, it's about deepening trust in unseen forces. By now, Mercury retrograde has officially ended for that first round, but its shadow period may still linger. So communication may still carry some subtle pitfalls. This is a full moon for reflection and spiritual testing, not necessarily for initiating big new projects. Full moons I actually like to use to clean or begin to release things that no longer serve me in order to make space for what is new and what is meant for me. The Libra is ruled by Venus, bringing themes of balance, relationships, and fairness. Under this full moon, review the past month and any situations that challenge your sense of balance or fairness. Take stock of lessons learned during Mercury retrograde, especially in relationships and finances. Be conscious of words spoken. Seven of Spades amplifies the impact of both intentional and unintentional communication. This is also a portal activation point, particularly because the Seven of Spades repeats later in the year. And when I say portals and stuff, I know y'all like probably thinking about some, what is that, Doctor Strange multiverse shit. I mean, yeah, but I like to think of it like Sonic rings too, like especially if you used to play Sonic on Sega like I did, and you used to get the boost when you go through the rings and stuff like that. So think of it like like a boost. Consider this, part two of a larger spiritual test cycle, setting the tone for upcoming gates. Use this full moon to reflect on past challenges and recognize growth. Align with what you want to carry forward. Release fears that limit trust or faith in the process. The energy of this moon encourages you to lean into faith, even when there's no proof, and to stay grounded while subtle spiritual forces test your resolve. After that, we have our new moon in Aries on April 17th. The card of that day is the Four of Diamonds. The time is 7:51 a.m. So the Four of Diamonds day, that's going to be a day or the card of financial stability, security, and solid foundations. New moons are naturally times for setting intentions and planting seeds, and this one emphasizes practical beginnings. Aries, ruled by Mars, brings action, drive, and initiation. Combined with the Four of Diamonds, this is a new moon that supports laying down tangible foundations for both financial and personal projects. So later that day at 11:58 a.m., the moon moves into Taurus. So you kind of have a short window to work with this on this specific day, but you can work with this energy when it first moves into, like a day or two before the actual moon transit occurs. So Taurus is also ruled by Venus, further emphasizing material stability, values, and resources. Mars card to the Four of Diamonds is the Six of Clubs, a card that highlights clear communication and messages from spirit. Pay attention to insights, guidance, or intuitive nudges that may surface today. They could point you to the practical steps you need to take. So don't just be dismissive. If it comes to mind, jot it down, make a voice memo or something of it. Because we've just entered the astrological new year around March 21st or 22nd, can't recall, but you can look at the calendar and find out. This new moon acts as a gateway for new beginnings, especially ones that require hard work, patience, and grounded energy. And sidebar about that, you get so many times to start anew if you want to work with different energies. You have the Gregorian New Year, which starts January 1st. You have this Lunar New Year, which I tend to love to work with because it's more in alignment with what I do and my beliefs. And you have the astrological New Year. So it's always a time to start something new. You can start on your birthday, you can start whenever you want. You make the rules. So my key themes and recommendations for this new moon would be to lay the groundwork for financial or material projects, observe messages, signs, and guidance that could direct your next steps, combine initiative, Aries, with stability, Four of Diamonds, to create strong, lasting foundations. Reflect on the lessons and tests from the Seven of Spades full moon in April 1st. These are meant to prepare you for more effective action now. So this is a practical, potent portal for building, initiating, and alignment with long-term goals, particularly in the material, financial, or resource-oriented realm. On May the 1st, we have a full moon in Scorpio, and this is also Beltane, if you happen to recognize that. The card of the day is the Five of Spades. The time of that exact lunation is 1:22 p.m. So this full moon occurs during Beltane, a time traditionally associated with fertility, growth, and transformation, which aligns beautifully with Scorpio's themes of deep emotional processing, endings, and rebirth. The Five of Spades is the adventurer card, and all fives are about change, movement, and transition. This energy encourages letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing the necessary shifts in your life. So, the key planetary influences of that day: Venus will sextile Saturn at 2:45 p.m. This aspect allows for stabilizing relationships, resources, and karmic patterns. You may feel ready to release old loops or embrace long-term commitments. Mercury will conjunct Chiron at 4:07 p.m. Communication may be healing focused, helping you process past wounds, clear misunderstandings, or receive insights that guide your next steps. Mars card the Scorpio's Five of Spades is the Nine of Spades. This highlights endings, completions, and spiritual closure. Mars energizes the action needed to bring these closures into your life effectively. So the Pluto card is the Four of Clubs. And I mention that because, if you, traditional ruler of Scorpio is Mars, but modern astrology wise, the ruler is Pluto. So the Four of Clubs offers peace of mind through transformation, and you may find that releasing old structures opens space for something stronger. My advice is that this is a powerful energy for moving forward. Accept change for the greater good. Act on opportunities to release karmic patterns. Be intentional with movement, action, and decisions, as Scorpio amplifies depth, intensity, and transformation. Because this full moon is a Scorpio lunar portal, it may bring rewards from past hard work, especially from the earlier Seven of Spades tests or earlier intentions set in the year. It's a time to integrate lessons, honor endings, and step into the next phase with clarity and intention. On May 16th, we have our new moon in Taurus, and the card of the day is the Three of Diamonds. The time of that lunation is 4:00 p.m. And if I didn't mention this, all of these times are Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah. So this new moon lands on a Three of Diamonds day, card of creativity, hustle, and business initiatives. It's a prime portal for action and manifestation, especially related to projects, entrepreneurial ideas, and long-term material goals. The planetary influence of that day: Mars will conjunct Chiron earlier in the day. This can bring intense energy around taking action, potentially uncovering old blocks or pain points in your approach. It's an invitation to move through obstacles courageously. The moon will shift into Gemini later that evening at 10:23 p.m. This adds versatility, communication, energy, And curiosity to the mix, perfect for brainstorming or refining ideas. Because Taurus is an earth sign ruled by Venus, the energy here is about manifesting abundance through grounded, practical action. Combining this with the Three of Diamonds creativity energy, this new moon is excellent for launching new projects or refining business plans, testing ideas in practical ways, networking, or collaborating on creative ventures. And my advice is go after ideas you've been incubating. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Use your creativity strategically to align your actions with long term goals. Pay attention to messages from spirit. Guidance may arrive through insights, conversations, or unexpected inspiration. This is another activation point in the year, building on previous lunar portals, especially the May 1st Scorpio full moon, giving you clarity on endings and what to focus on next. On May 31st, we have a full moon in Sagittarius and a 444 portal. And I say that specifically to those of us in Eastern Standard Time. I know, sucks if you're not. But the card of that day is the Ace of Clubs, and the time of that lunation is 4:44 a.m. 4:44 is an angel number, but it's also a number that signifies that your angels are around you, waiting for you to ask for their guidance. So take with that what you will. This full moon lands on that Ace of Clubs day, signaling new goals, new projects, and fresh communication opportunities, maybe with your angels. The repetition of the Ace theme this year emphasizes beginnings, potential, and the seed of future growth. Planetary influences of that day. Later in that evening, Mercury will sextile Chiron at 8:32 p.m. This is a healing communication energy, perfect for clarifying intentions, sharing insights, or receiving guidance. Sagittarius energy emphasizes vision, expansion, and adventure. It also indicates higher learning. So this full moon supports big picture thinking and strategic moves. Maybe even the start of, some new learning towards your goals. Sagittarius's ruler is Jupiter, and the Jupiter card for this card is the Three of Diamonds, reinforcing creativity, resourcefulness, and momentum. This full moon encourages you to document ideas, record insights, and prepare for action. With Uranus soon moving into Gemini, there's also an innovative, disruptive quality. Think groundbreaking ideas and unconventional solutions. I cannot emphasize enough to write or record all your thoughts, no matter how random you think they are. So my advice, new initiatives or projects you've been incubating now could start gaining traction. I already said it. Document your ideas. This is a moment to capture inspiration before it shifts. Look for signals from spirit or your environment. This could come in small synchronicities or unexpected insights. This full moon connects the energy from the previous Taurus new moon on May 16th, moving from practical planning to inspired action. It's a step in the chain of activation points that carry you toward mid-year growth. Next, we have June 14th, the new moon in Gemini. The card of the day is the Three of Diamonds again. The time of that lunation is 10:53 p.m. So this is going to reinforce creativity, resourcefulness, and hustle energy. The repeated Three of Diamonds activations this year signal that this is a strong moment for manifestation through action. Whatever you've been incubating in the past months, it's time to start shaping into something tangible. The planetary influences are the moon in Gemini, encourages curiosity, adaptability, and learning. This is a day to pay attention to how ideas and communication can spark opportunity. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, so your words, messages, and thought patterns carry extra weight. Combine this with prior activations like the May 31st Sagittarius full moon to see how your visions can translate into real world steps. The Three of Diamonds is all about building momentum, leveraging skills, and creating opportunities from your resources. Think of this as a portal moment. Past intentions or projects now have a chance to crystallize. Maybe you're supposed to begin something that you started and stalled on in the past. With the chain of activation points this year, what you've been nurturing behind the scenes can start to take form. So my advice is to write the things down, organize, structure, and plan. This is not a passive new moon. Gemini encourages mental clarity, but the Three of Diamonds insists on action. Use this as a checkpoint to assess prior activations, especially the Ace of Clubs full moon on May 31st. Ideas conceived then now may become, more actionable projects. On June 29th, we have a full moon in Capricorn on another Ace of Clubs day at 7:56 p.m. Again, the card signals new beginnings, fresh energy, and potential for growth in practical, material, or career-related matters. With the moon in Capricorn, this energy is focused, disciplined, and oriented towards long-term structure and stability. Mercury retrograde begins at 1:36 p.m. So if you're going to do something, you might want to do it before that time. So communication, contracts, and travel require double and triple checking. Use this time for review and reflection rather than making impulsive moves. Capricorn's ruler Saturn emphasizes responsibility, planning, and laying solid foundations. This full moon is a time to integrate lessons from prior activations and align your actions with long-term goals. The Ace of Clubs is about fresh starts, opportunities, and potential. Think of this as a portal to reframe plans, set new intentions, or pivot strategically. The energy encourages practical action paired with thoughtful planning. Revisit projects or ideas incubated during prior new moons and prepare to move them forward when the timing aligns. So be sure to triple check details before committing. Mercury retrograde may hide minor oversights. Use this disciplined Capricorn energy to solidify foundations for your ideas, projects, or business ventures. Pay attention to timing. Reflection now can ensure that actions taken in the following weeks are aligned, efficient, and more likely to succeed. This full moon serves as a reflective checkpoint, a moment to evaluate what's ready to move forward, what needs recalibration, and what seeds from earlier in the year are showing signs of fruition. On July 14th, we have a new moon in Cancer on the Ace of Diamonds day at 5:43 a.m. So on the Ace of Diamonds day, a card associated with new wealth, ambition, and material opportunities. With the moon in Cancer, the energy leans towards emotional intelligence, nurturing, and creating security, both personal and professional. So Mercury is still in retrograde, so reflection, review, and careful communication are emphasized. The moon will shift to Leo at 6:35 p.m., infusing the day with creativity, self-expression, and leadership energy. Use this later window to manifest intentions with confidence and flair. The Ace of Diamonds signals new beginnings related to wealth, career, or material pursuits. This is a time to plant seeds for financial or professional growth. Pairing Cancer's energy with the Ace of Diamonds suggests prioritizing security, emotional satisfaction, and long-term stability in your goals. My advice is to set clear intentions for new financial opportunities or projects. Use reflective Mercury retrograde energy to review plans, contracts, and strategies, and avoid rushing details and decisions. Align new initiatives with your emotional or spiritual well-being. What feels right will likely carry the most lasting impact. The moon shift into Leo offers a boost of courage, creativity, and confidence, so take advantage of this to activate your plans. On July 29th, we have a full moon in Aquarius. The card of the day is the Queen of Hearts, and the lunation takes place at 10:35 a.m. With it landing on a Queen of Hearts day, this is a card of social influence, teaching, and leadership. Aquarius brings collective awareness, innovation, and forward-thinking mindset. This is a moment to reflect on your social circles, networks, and the ways you contribute to the larger community. So the planetary influences of that day: Venus will square Mars at 3:09 a.m., encouraging actions in relationships, collaborations, and creative endeavors. The Sun will conjunct Jupiter at 8:17 a.m., enhancing optimism, growth, and expansive thinking, signaling opportunities for influence and meaningful impact. So the Queen of Hearts represents wise, nurturing, and socially savvy energy. Use the full moon to step into roles where you can guide, teach, or uplift others. Aquarius emphasize innovation, unique perspectives, and working towards collective goals. Combine that with the Queen of Hearts to lead with both heart and vision. My advice is to focus on networking, collaborations, and teaching moments. Your influence can ripple out in meaningful ways. Pay attention to where your unique ideas can create impact or bring innovation. Manage interpersonal dynamics thoughtfully. Venus square Mars can bring tension, so channel energy into constructive dialogue and creative problem solving. Align your social or professional ambitions with a higher purpose. Aquarius favors forward thinking and humanitarian efforts or unconventional approaches. August 12th, we have the new moon in Leo on the Ace of Diamonds day at 1:36 p.m. This is a card of new beginnings, material potential, and ambition. Leo brings self-expression, creativity, and leadership energy. This is a portal for initiating projects, setting intentions around personal power, and manifesting tangible results. So the planetary influences of that day: Mars will sextile Chiron at 10:41 a.m., supporting courageous action toward healing, growth, and personal breakthroughs. Mercury will sextile Uranus at 4:47 p.m., sparking innovative thinking, unexpected insights, and creative problem solving. So be sure to set intentions for tangible material goals. This is about planting seeds that can grow into lasting results. Use the energy of Mercury and Uranus to think outside the box, explore new methods, solutions, or strategies. Take bold but calculated action. Leo wants you to shine, but the Ace of Diamonds reminds you to ground your ambitions into practicality. Reflect on progress from earlier activations this year. This is a moment to build on what you've already started and push it into the next phase. Treat this as a mid-year checkpoint. Evaluate your progress, adjust your approach, and set the next stage in motion along the chain of lunar gates. On August 28th, we have the full moon in Pisces on a Jack of Hearts day at 12:18 a.m. This full moon lands on the day also known as on a card day that's known as the Jesus card or the Heart of Children. Pisces brings heightened sensitivity, intuition, and emotional depth. This is a portal for reflection, emotional processing, and gentle guidance. I can't help but feel like this is probably going to be a heavy day for whatever reason. It may be a collective feeling that I'm feeling. But just be mindful. The planetary influences of that day will be Mercury squaring Uranus at 3:24 a.m., creating potential friction or surprises in communications and thought patterns. The Sun will also square Uranus at 6:18 p.m., emphasizing unexpected changes or disruptions in collective or personal life. The Jack of Hearts encourages compassion, empathy, and service. Be mindful of your own emotional boundaries while attending to others. Pisces energy can amplify sensitivity, allow intuition to guide your choices, but don't overextend yourself. So, my advice is that practical gentleness with yourself and others is very important on that day. This is a day to honor emotions, creativity, and spiritual insight. Unexpected shifts or surprises may appear. Lean into flexibility rather than resistance. Take time for reflection, journaling, or quiet meditation to process what's coming up internally. Collective energies may feel heavy, so use the Jack of Hearts to be a stabilizing force for yourself and those around you. On September 10th, we have the new moon in Virgo on the Ace of Diamonds day at 11:26 p.m. So remember, the Ace of Diamonds signals new beginnings in material matters, wealth, ambition, and practical pursuits. Aces are the babies of the deck, full of potential, raw energy, and the spark to initiate something meaningful. So this is actually a busy day transit wise. So we have Venus moving into Scorpio at 4:07 a.m., deepening focus on value, resources, and transformation. Mercury squares Lilith at 5:30 a.m., stirring intense reflections and possibly challenging old patterns in communication. Mercury moves into Libra at 12:21 p.m., balancing thoughts and promoting fairness in decision making. Venus will oppose Chiron at 1:15 p.m., highlighting healing opportunities in relationships, finances, or self-worth. Uranus retrograde begins at 2:27 p.m. that day, activating innovative thinking, surprises, and unexpected shifts. So the Ace of Diamonds encourages new financial opportunities, material ventures, or practical projects. Virgo energy emphasizes planning, discernment, and attention to detail, perfect for turning inspiration into structure. With Mercury and Uranus influencing the day, expect inventive solutions or flashes of insight, but double check details before acting. So this could be the day to initiate something tangible, a project, a new routine, or financial plan. Use this new moon as a careful, intentional activation, especially considering Mercury and Uranus retrograde influences. Avoid recklessness, channel Ace energy into deliberate, well-structured action. Reflect on past Ace Diamond activations from earlier this year. They may now feed into this new opportunity. On September 26th, we have a full moon in Aries on a Jack of Hearts day at 12:48 p.m. So with that landing on a Jack of Hearts day, the energy can be intense and highly activating. You know, the Jack of Hearts invites boldness, courage, and emotional authenticity, but it can also stir up emotional highs and deep reflection. Planetary influences are the moon shifting from Pisces earlier in the day. Remember, Pisces is very watery and emotional. And Mercury will trine Pluto, encouraging transformative communication and insight. The Mars card influenced the Two of Hearts. With the Two of Hearts as the Mars card, this full moon may stir awareness around close connections, emotional needs, or attachment patterns. Be mindful of any impulses towards obsessive closeness, clinginess, or fear of being alone. This isn't a warning against connection. Maybe somebody listening really has some clinginess issues. I don't know. But a prompt to navigate relationships with awareness and balance. My advice is to reflect on patterns in your close relationships and what security looks like for you. Balance action and emotional authenticity. Aries encourages bold steps. And the Two of Hearts reminds you to check in with your heart. Use this full moon to channel intensity into clarity, not compulsion. On October 10th, we have a new moon in Libra on a Queen of Clubs day at 11:49 a.m. The Queen of Clubs is a card of influence, authority, networking, and strategic action. Libra's energy emphasizes balance, diplomacy, and partnership, but combined with the Queen of Clubs, there's a strong push to take charge of situations while maintaining grace. Later that day, Venus will square Mars at 5:30 p.m., creating tension between desire and action. Expect a push-pull dynamic that may call for strategic patience. And Mercury and Mars energies mirror Uranus, signaling potential disruptions or sudden insights. So the Queen of Clubs encourages using wisdom, tact, and strategic networking to navigate challenges. Libra asks, how can you foster collaboration without compromising your authority or integrity? So remember to focus on leveraging your influence while staying mindful of potential friction. Use this new moon to plan and strategize rather than rushing headfirst into action. Think in terms of long-term positioning. Your moves now may set the stage for the months ahead. On October 26th, we have a full moon in Taurus on a Nine of Hearts day at 12:11 a.m. The Nine of Hearts is the card of wish fulfillment. So it represents culmination, emotional completion, and the fruition of efforts, especially tied to relationships, partnerships, and long-term emotional goals. Traditionally and modernly, the ruler of Taurus is Venus, which naturally governs this full moon. This adds an earthy, stabilizing, and value oriented energy. Think comfort, security, and grounded fulfillment. In my terms, the Earth card, I think that Taurus is ruled by Earth, but we'll get into that a different time. The Earth card of the Nine of Hearts is the Two of Spades, highlighting partnership, mentorship, and friendship in life coaching dynamics. Overlaying the Five of Diamonds energy brings attention to changes in work or home. It signals that shifts in practical, material aspects of life may accompany this emotional culmination. So, my advice would be to focus on partnerships and connections that matter. This is a time to strengthen or clarify alliances. Reciprocity actually comes to mind. If you find that you are over giving, it might be time to cut your ends or cut loose ends. Pay attention to changes in financial work or home circumstances. They may coincide with relational breakthroughs, and to make a wish or an intention that aligns both emotional fulfillment and practical stability. On November 9th, we have a new moon in Scorpio on a Jack of Clubs day at 2:01 a.m. And so the Jack of Clubs is a card of learning through living. Well, it's the student, yeah, they're the student for life. Creative thought and skill building. With Scorpio's depth, intensity, and transformative energy, this is a portal for communicating your knowledge, sharing your insights, and speaking your truth, but not in an argumentative way. Or sometimes, yeah, because it's also the card of spoken word or the rapper, but I digress. The planetary influences is that Mercury retrograde will be in effect. Hopefully, this is the last one of the year, and maybe this year it won't be on Thanksgiving for those who celebrate. But this advises you to take extra care of how you communicate. Words carry weight. Think before speaking, especially around sensitive or transformative topics, especially because this moon is, highlighted by Mars and Plutonian influences. And it actually has the card of debate. This has the card of debate. So yeah, the Mars card for the Jack of Clubs is the Two of Clubs, emphasizing careful action, tactful dialogue, and partnership energy. Avoid conflicts and prioritize collaborative growth. I don't know, y'all might be arguing around this moon with somebody. Y'all might, if I'm being honest, but hopefully not, because you'll remember this. So the Pluto card to this is Two of Spades, highlighting releasing what no longer serves you in close relationships, partnerships, and shared resources. So yeah, um, whatever you say, if you decide to argue or not argue, will be transformative. It's transformative AF this day. So I would focus on sharing knowledge constructively, teaching rather than arguing. Be mindful of how your words impact others. Intention matters more than excuse me, more than volume. I would actually put honey on my tongue this day with the intention to be mindful and to make my words be sweet. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, just put the honey on the damn tongue and drink cooling drinks. Think hibiscus, think coconut. Just be cool. Journal or plan around projects requiring careful thought, strategy, or mentorship. This is a strong creative learning activation. On November 24th, we have a full moon in Gemini on a 9 of Hearts day at 9:53 a.m. So we're doubling down on the theme of emotional culmination, wishes coming to fruition, and the results of work put in during the previous cycles, because we left a 9 of Hearts um last year. 2025 was a 9 of Hearts year. This full moon signals the reaping of rewards from past emotional efforts and intentions. Gemini's ruler is Mercury, which emphasizes communication, thought patterns, and exchange of ideas. The full moon encourages clear articulation of your needs, desires, and boundaries. And the 9 of Hearts Mercury card is the 9 of Diamonds, which is, about philanthropy and giving. So that being two nines to me are all about graduations. um 9 of Diamonds is also the card of politics and the African diaspora. So something could be happening wish fulfillment wise. Maybe we about to see some reparations or something. I could be wishful, I could be thoughtful and hopeful on that. But maybe we'll see some good grounds, especially around this time of year, with United States politics or politics overall. But I'll move forward from that energy. So just focus on gratitude and acknowledgement. Recognize the progress you've made over the past year and the relationships that helped you get here. Um, Reflect on what emotional patterns you want to carry forward and what you are ready to release. Because Gemini emphasizes communication, consider sharing your intentions or insight with someone you trust. This can amplify the energy of the moon and again, make a wish. On December 8th, we have the new moon in Sagittarius on a 10 of Clubs day at 7:51 p.m. The 10 of Clubs is the card of the master teacher, emphasizing successful communication, teaching, and mastery through experience. Sagittarius amplifies the energy of exploration, higher learning, and truth seeking, making this a prime portal for sharing your wisdom, expanding your understanding, and taking ethical leadership in your pursuits. So, earlier that day, we have Mercury opposing Uranus at 5:23, which can bring sudden insights or unexpected communication shifts. Pay attention to timing and double check facts before acting. Sorry. Mercury sextiles Pluto at 2:31 p.m., supporting deep transformative conversations and strategic thinking. So, with 10 of Clubs signaling the completion of cycles and learning, teaching, and intellectual growth, it's a moment to integrate knowledge and share it responsibly. Thinking of the student becomes the teacher. So, my advice is to communicate carefully, speak truthfully for the greater good, not for argument's sake. Reflect on your learning. What lessons have you internalized this year, and how can you share them now? Strategic action. This is a moment to plan, teach, or prepare for endeavors that require authority, clarity, and influence. On December 23rd, we have a full moon in Cancer on an Eight of Hearts day at 8:27 p.m. The Eight of Hearts card is a card of gentle success, emotional mastery, and the touch healer energy. Cancer amplifies nurturing, intuition, and home centered awareness, making this a healing and reflective portal. This would be an excellent day to get a massage or some type of healing touch therapy. That's what this is a good damn day to do. And you got to book this early because this is right before Christmas. So earlier that day, we have Mercury trine Chiron at 5:42 a.m., which supports clear emotional insight, healing conversations, and compassionate communication. Sun square Neptune at 6:36 a.m., inviting discernment. Be mindful of illusions or wishful thinking. Mercury will trine Jupiter at 1:02 p.m., amplifying wisdom, guidance, and opportunities for positive dialogue. The moon moves out of Gemini at 4:59 p.m. and it shifts the emotional tone toward home, family, out of home family and emotional grounding. The Eight of Hearts signals gentle mastery, success through emotional intelligence, and supportive partnerships. With Cancer, this full moon may highlight family, home, and inner emotional work, offering a chance to integrate lessons from the year and stabilize your emotional foundation. So be sure to focus on healing, reflection, and nurturing your emotional and domestic life. Pay attention to emotional cues and communication with loved ones. This full moon favors compassion over confrontation. Consider this a completion point of lessons and cycles from earlier in the year, setting the stage for intentional planning for the year ahead. On January 7th, we have a full moon in Capricorn on a Seven of Spades day. Landing on the Seven of Spades day, the card of faith testing and spiritual challenges. Capricorn brings structure, responsibility, and long-term planning, making this full moon a portal for resetting foundations and consolidating efforts. Saturn's energy in Capricorn emphasizes discipline, accountability, and tangible progress. Seven of Spades traditionally signals tower moments, potential upheavals, or necessary endings, but also opportunities to rebuild stronger foundations. Saturn card to this, with Four of Diamonds influence, supports material planning, financial assessment, and structured growth. The Seven of Spades here represents spiritual tests that challenge your faith and perseverance. Capricorn encourages practical action, turning lessons from past disruptions into solid, long-term structures. Be mindful of catastrophic energy or sudden shifts, but see them as opportunities to rebuild with intention. Use the discipline of Capricorn and the lessons of the Seven of Spades to assess, restructure, and prepare for growth. Pay attention to money, home, and foundational responsibilities as changes here will ripple throughout the year. And finally, we have on January 22nd, 2027, you want to talk? The full moon in Leo on a Five of Diamonds day. This full moon lands on a Five of Diamonds day, a card that signals change, adaptability, and fluctuations in finances, work, and home life. Leo's fiery energy brings creativity, visibility, and leadership, making this a portal for stepping into authority and navigating change with confidence. The Sun in Leo highlights personal expression, leadership, and bold action. Uranus influence and associated with innovation, authority, and unexpected shifts. The Five of Diamonds signals up and down energy, emotions, finances, and circumstances. May feel volatile, but these shifts are preparing you for the next phase. Leo encourages you to take ownership of your creative and professional direction. So stay adaptable in work, finances, and personal projects. Resistance may create unnecessary friction. Use Leo energy to lead with vision. even amidst changes or uncertainty. Pay attention to signals from Uranus. Innovative ideas or opportunities may appear suddenly but purposefully. This full moon serves as a culmination and preparation point for the year, helping you integrate lessons from previous gates and set the stage for new cycles. Now, I know this can feel like a lot of information. There are many dates, cards, and activations to track, but the key is not to get overwhelmed. The purpose here is mindful engagement, not stress. A thoughtful way to work with this is to mark these gates in your personal calendar or digital calendar. I actually keep all the major astrology transits and lunar transits in my own digital calendar because it allows me to see the flow of energies at a glance and to be more mindful. You can do the same. Go to each new moon and full moon date that I listed, make a note of the card and day and its key energy points, add reminders or journal prompts for how you want to work with, release, or manifest during these periods. This isn't about just looking at the sky or the cards in Sky Daddy's hand. It's about using intention, reflection, and action to align with the energy available to you. Think of each lunar gate as a checkpoint, a moment to pause, reflect, and direct your energy. If you'd like personal guidance on how to work with these energies or to see how they interact with your own spread or chart, you can book a session with me at queendaddysaturn.com. And a note for those looking ahead, the next Lunar New Year begins February 6, 2027, and that is the year of the fire goat. You can check back closer to that date for a fresh forecast and a chain of activations for the coming cycle. This is your roadmap, your energy, focus, and action will determine what you take away from these gates. Be well.